this mesh section. I can't say mesh section. Mesh section. Mesh. Y'all know what I'm saying. Crochet this adorable drawstring tote with me. I've made this in acrylic and I've also made it in cotton. Today I will be making the cotton version. You will start by chaining 26. Next, you will half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. You will mark this stitch. If you're using the same color stitch markers, I would suggest you trying to find a different color to mark this first stitch because you want to make sure you know the first stitch of every single round. That way you don't get confused. Next, you're going to half double crochet into every chain until you get to the very first chain. Okay, once you get to the first chain, you will be putting 3 half double crochet into the same stitch. You will mark the first and the third stitch. These are your increase stitches, so you want to make sure that you keep track of them. So I just marked the first one. I'll make the second one, and here's the third half double crochet, and I will mark this. You will be increasing for the first 4 rounds. So this is round 1. Once you mark that third increase stitch, you will go ahead and half double crochet on the other side of the chain all the way until you get to the last stitch. Once you get to the last stitch, you will also be putting 3 half double crochets. You will only mark the first one because the last increase will come right before the first stitch, which is already marked. So I'm marking the first half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and put a second half double crochet into the same stitch. And then we'll be putting our final half double crochet into the same stitch, and that will complete round 1. At the end of round 1, you should have 54 half double crochet. You are going to remove your stitch marker, do a half double crochet into the very first stitch, replace your stitch marker. It's very important that you keep track of the first stitch of every round. You're going to go ahead and half double crochet all the way until you get to the very first stitch marker. Once you get to that first stitch marker, you're going to go ahead and put 2 half double crochet into the same stitch. You should replace your stitch marker into the first stitch and then go ahead and put your second half double crochet into that same stitch. And then you will also increase into the next stitch. These are all of your increase rounds. And then into your final stitch with the yellow stitch marker, you're going to put 2 half double crochet and you will mark the second half double crochet. So now you have increased this one side by 3. Go ahead and replace that stitch marker and half double crochet all the way until you get to the next stitch marker. Once you get to the next stitch marker, you're going to go ahead and remove the stitch marker and increase into this stitch. So put 2 half double crochet into this stitch. Go ahead and replace your stitch marker always. Then you're going to increase into the next stitch. And then you will increase into the stitch right before the marker. And that's how you'll know you're at the end and you've done it correctly. And you've also increased this side by 3, and you've increased this round by 6. This is what your work should look like at the end of round 2, and you should have 60 half double crochet. For round 3, we're going to go ahead and put a half double crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to go ahead and replace our stitch marker, of course. And then we are going to half double crochet until we get to the first stitch marker. Once you get to that stitch marker, you're going to remove it, and then you're going to increase into this stitch, place your stitch marker. I almost forgot. And you're going to increase into the next stitch. Going to increase into every stitch, including the stitch with the stitch marker. After this, you will have one more increase round. Replace your stitch marker, and then we are going to go ahead and half double crochet until we get to our next stitch marker. And once you get to the next stitch marker, you know what to do. Remove it and increase into this stitch. Replace your stitch marker, and then increase into every stitch until you get to the very first stitch of the round. At the end of round 3, you should have 72 half double crochet. And your work should look similar to this. Yas, looking good. So far, so good. Okay, let's begin round 4. Round 4 will be our last increase round. We are going to do just like we did in the previous round, and that we're going to increase into the stitch markers and all the stitches in between. And at the end of round 4, we should have 96 half double crochet. At the end of round 4, you should only have one stitch marker left. You don't need any other stitch markers except for the very first one to begin each round. For rounds 5 through 7, you will simply just be putting one half double crochet in each stitch around. I will meet you at the end of round 7. This is what your work should look like at the end of round 7. For round 8, we will be putting one half double crochet in the back loop only, all the way around, and I will meet you at the end of round 8. This is what your work should look like at the end of round 8. It's going to start standing up with that back loop only round. Let's start our first mesh rounds. What we're going to do is we're going to chain 4, and then we're going to skip 2 on the bottom and single crochet into the next stitch. We will do that all the way around. Mark your first stitch, go ahead and chain 4, and then skip 2 on the bottom and then single crochet. You'll do that all the way around, making loops. At the end of our first mesh round, you're going to go ahead and chain 4 and then single crochet into that first loop that you made. And for the next 9 rounds, you're going to chain 4 and then single crochet into the middle of the next loop. And you will do that and just replace your stitch marker at the beginning of each round. Again, you will chain 4 and single crochet into the loop. 4 and then and you will do that for as many mesh rounds as you'd like, but I did a total of 10, including the first round of loops. I will meet you at the end of your mesh round. Okay, at the end of that first round of mesh, you can go ahead and chain 4 and single crochet into the loop, and we will go ahead and work our middle section, which is slimming. We will do 3 single crochets in the first loop, and then we will do 2 in the second loop, and we will alternate all the way around doing 3 single crochets in the first loop and then 2 in the second. You will not be working in the single crochet spaces, and I will meet you at the end of this round. Okay, at the end of the first round of single crochets, you're going to go ahead and do single crochets in every stitch around for the next 5 rounds. So I will meet you at the end of 5 rounds of single crochet. Our next round of mesh will be worked as follows. You will be chaining 3, skipping 2 on the bottom, and then single crochet. And that will be the repeat round. You'll chain 3, skip 2 on the bottom, and then single crochet in the next stitch, and I will meet you at the end of this round. For the next 8 rounds, you will be chaining 3 and single crocheting into the loops. And you will do that for the next 8 rounds. I will meet you at the end of this mesh section. I can't say mesh section. Mesh section. Mesh. Y'all know what I'm saying. Coming to the end of our mesh section, we are going to do another round of single crochets. So we're going to do 3 single crochets in each loop all the way around. And then we are going to do 5 more rows for a total of 6 rows of single crochet, 3 in each loop, and I will meet you at the end of the single crochet section. After you finish your single crochet, you can go ahead and cut your yarn, and we will work on our straps. You're going to mark where you want your straps. You're working 6 stitches apart, so go ahead and mark where you want your first strap, and then also mark where you want your second strap. And you can attach your straps however you want them. So how we will start is that we will go ahead and attach your yarn. And then you're going to chain 1. And you're going to single crochet until you get to your next stitch marker. And how you'll work the straps is that you will chain 1 at the end of each row, and then you will single crochet. Make sure you're going to that first stitch all the way across. You'll go back and forth until you have the length that you want. I made my straps 21 inches long. So go ahead and work your straps, and I will see you when it's time to attach the other end to your bag. Once you have the length that you want, you're going to flip your strap like this. And then you will be slip stitching to attach. You might struggle a little bit, but that's okay. And then you'll be slip stitching all the way across. And that's it. You'll do that for both of your straps. You can attach your straps any way you want them. And I will meet you for our last part, which is our drawstring. For the drawstring, you're going to make a chain of 105. Then you're going to find the middle of your bag. You're going to go in from the inside. This is how I like to do it anyway. And then you're just going to weave the chain in and out of the loops right at the bottom of that single crochet section. And you'll do that all the way around until you get back to the front. Okay, once you make it around to the front, go ahead and even your drawstring out so that both pieces are even. May take a little finagling. And then to embellish the bag a little bit, I just added these wooden beads that I got from Amazon onto each side. Then I added a black lining so that you could still see the mesh. Oh, she's cute. Thank you so much for joining me on another tutorial, and I hope to see you again next week for the next. You have a wonderful day. Goodbye.